Today we're gonna talk about how I maintained motivation for my dream project Zack and Time, and how it inspired my second game project Zack and Fight, a 2D fighting game based on our animated TV show pitch Zack and Time. But before we can talk about Zack, we have to talk about Sarp, a different version of Sarp with a lot more hair. Back in 2014. In 2014, I was working in Paw Patrol. I'm Sarp, by the way. It was my first animator credit on a show, while I was taking course on how to write an animated TV show pitch for Zack and Time. In a nutshell, Zack and Time is a 2D animated TV show about a goofy boy called Zack and his sister Marla lost in time trying to find their way back, and it gets a bit crazy when Zack finds that he has the ability to give life to anything he touches, kind of like an animator. I prepared a pitch document for Pitchapalooza, which was part of an animation festival in Toronto called Taffy Festival. It put me in front of so many producers. I got to present Zack and Time on a stage and I won an award. I think the award was a Toon Boom storyboard license. But one of the producers I met was the producer of Nickelodeon's Rugrats. We talked with her for months, changing and adapting the show, trying to figure out ways what would be the best way to pitch it, what would be the best way to sell it, which companies can make it. It was amazing. My dreams were finally coming true. She was like so interested in the show. I was about to have my own TV show. Then my visa expired. And that was that. I had to go back to Turkey. Everything I worked for years, all the contacts and networking I made, all the possible thing that was gonna happen, everything that was on track, gone. I lost my job, I lost my animator credits, I lost everything that has to do with Zack and Time. I had to go back to Turkey. This thing that I loved creating became like such a hurtful thing for me, because every time I thought about Zack and Time, I just would think about how it went to flames, and like I stopped thinking about like how much I enjoyed doing it. Every time I thought about Zack and Time, it was immediately connected with how I failed. It didn't work out and it's gone now. So I gave up. I tried getting into games. We started a little gaming company for mobile games with a couple of my friends, which didn't work out when we realized we all hate mobile games. Then I just went back to animating the thing that got me into animation in the first place. Spider-Man. Spider-Man always fills me with so much motivation, like just seeing that character, reading the comics, the way he moves, the poses he makes, like it's the whole reason I wanted to be an animator, just to be able to recreate that feeling of like insane dynamic poses and like the way he swings through his relationship to like physics while he's moving. It's just amazing. All the comics I read, all the cartoons I watched, all the movies I watched, there is like an infinite amount of resources for Spider-Man in my brain. So I just started animating Spider-Man. Every day I was doing animated Spider-Man do this, Spider-Man do that, and I went back to enjoying animation again. I was just animating for fun, and I wasn't thinking about like all the failures I had in the past and like how I don't have animator credit anymore and all of that. I was just focused on, I love animation and it's so much fun. I've obsessively animated Spider-Man for like 2 years straight while taking like different animation courses. I quit my job in Turkey to take an animation course and I went back to living with my parents, and I had absolutely no money. Only thing I was doing was constantly animating Spider-Man and nothing else. And then something weird happened. I found myself actually animating Spider-Man in the movies. I met so many other animators who work on these amazing movies, but I kept talking about Zack and Time all the time. Zack and Time all the time. But I was still so hurt about like actually doing it again. I kept telling people this story like, oh, it almost happened. And that's how I met Ollie. Ollie's an amazing animator and a screenplay writer, and he got me back into Zack and Time. We started working on the project again. We started working on a script together. We wrote a pilot script. We redid a whole animated TV show pitch. I was so filled with motivation. Every day I was drawing, coloring, doing different character designs, having like crazy ideas. We rewrote the story, made a whole 3-season arc, made an amazing pilot and a TV show pitch. Zack and Time was back again, and I was back there again. I was doing it. I was back in my dream again. I was doing Zack and Time again. But before we know it, we were back inside that pitching room, talking to producers, trying to pitch our ideas. But it wasn't 2014 anymore. Now it was 2022, and apparently nowadays you need something called a social media. Producers tend to want to be able to visualize a success of a project by analyzing metrics that they can follow, like the amount of subscribers you have, amount of likes you have. By the way, please like and subscribe. So they need to see these numbers to actually understand if this could be a success or not before even getting to any of the cool stuff about the show. I don't really like social media. All my social media posts is just my art. I don't even like sharing my face. I know it's weird now that I have a YouTube channel. But then it happened again. The whole thing like fizzled out and went quieter and quieter, and then I gave up again. But at this point I started realizing a pattern of something good happening, and I feel very successful and I feel very happy and things are very good, and bam, it just like drops down. It's a constant like feeling successful, defeat, feeling successful, defeat. You know, when you start these projects you think like, oh man, I love this thing, I'm never gonna give up on this, I'm never giving up. It's okay to not draw this week because I drew a lot last week. Oh, it's okay, I don't have to draw every week. Oh, it's okay, I drew last month. Then too, like suddenly you're not doing it anymore. These like bad things that happen slowly just like fizzles your motivation out and you just stop. And that's when I turned to today's sponsor, Audible. No, I'm joking. This video is not sponsored by anyone, but I did use Audible a lot. It actually helped me. I think it's like a 30-year-old midlife crisis thing to suddenly hit a point in your life and go like, I need to self-improve. Let me read some self-improvement books. But I had a specific problem, and that was to maintain my motivation, because I had been through enough in my life that I kind of felt like if I stick with something, I can do it. But I wasn't sticking with it. I was like hitting roadblocks and stopping all the time. So my goal was to figure out how to maintain motivation. I especially learned a lot from these 3 books: Atomic Habits, Art of Impossible, and Feel Good Productivity. If you're an artist and struggling with motivation and maintaining projects, I think these 3 books are like amazing. If I summarize what I've learned from it, apparently feeling good is very much tied to motivation, and things like anxiety and stress just kills your motivation completely. But you can't avoid those things from happening. I learned about this thing called inspiration stacking, and there's also this thing about how to manage your procrastination. But if you focus on the inspiration stacking thing for a second, basically what it means is that like you might love animation a lot, but the amount of motivation you get from that eventually just fizzles out and dies. So no matter how much you love one specific thing, usually just that one thing is not enough to maintain that motivation. You have to stack different sources of inspiration from different places to create this like giant ball of motivation. Then I realized that my whole life I was already doing this without realizing it. I studied animation for years, but I never really became a good animator before I started animating Spider-Man, because I love animation and I love Spider-Man, and when those things connected, I just never stopped animating. For every other animation project I would do a little bit, then I'll get bored and I'll just stop. But when it was Spider-Man, I just could not stop, because those things like coming together was like at my peak. And then I realized like I always wanted to make games. I had like so many different game ideas, and I look back at it, the game that I animated Spider-Man on, chunk, those 3 things coming together, Crawley Unleashed. That's going so well. It feels stupid to realize it like this. It feels so obvious, do the things you like, but I never thought to like make sure that every task I want to do needs to have like these different sources of inspiration stuck into it. And Zack in Time is also like the ultimate inspiration stacking for me. It's 2D animation, which I love. It's a time travel show, which I love. The main character Zack is an animator, and living abroad from my family almost my whole life, the family values in that show also keeps me very tied to it. And of course, and I'm doing it with my friend Ollie, which I always enjoy spending time with him. So these are like so many different inspirations coming together, resulted in me not giving up and coming back to this project that I started like 10 years ago. But okay, none of that stuff was enough. I still hit a roadblock. I still gave up. So how can I use this now again? What can I do to stack inspiration with the things that I enjoy doing to make sure that I stay with it, I don't give up? Okay, what are the things I love? Zack in Time, check. 2D animation, check. Game development, check. And guess what? It works! I have been consistently animating Zack in Time for 8 months straight, not giving up even for a single week. I'm not burning out. I'm not getting bored. I'm not stopping. Every single Thursday, consistently, without budging. I don't think I ever stayed with a project this consistently for this amount of time. Instead, I did the exact same thing for Crawley. During this 8 months, every Tuesday I worked on Crawley, every Thursday day I worked on Zack in Time. This idea of like inspiration stacking works so well. It worked for Crowley, it worked for Zack in Time, and it's working for my YouTube. And that's a very long segue into today's game devlog about Zack and Fight. Zack and Fight is a 1v1 fighting game that is completely traditionally animated by me, and the amount of growth I had as a 2D animator while doing this project is insane. Look at what my drawings looked like before I did this inspirational stacking thing. When I put my animations side by side, I see so much growth, like I can do so much more than what I was able to just 8 months ago. So let me show what we have so far. I have all of the animations of Zack done, but that was done a bit prematurely. I just wanted to show myself that I can animate this, I can make these actions work, I can clean it up, I can color it up, I can have a consistent art style. He can do combos, he can do aerial attacks, he can do crouching attacks, he can block stuff, he has super moves. As you can see, all his attacks are just animating something, but this is the season 1 version of Zack where he has no control over his powers, so he can't really control what he's doing. So I really like this one where he's animating his short comes alive and attacks for him, but he's trying to cover his junk because he's shy. And then that's his shoes attacking for him, that's his shirt blocking for him, and then every time he touches the ground he animates like little tiny thingies. That one's an aubergine, that one's an orange. His cape comes alive, he has his trusty buckety whenever he needs help, but I did go a little bit overboard with this. I should have like set the game parts of it more structurally proper before I went to do this much animation, but this is what I needed to know that I can do this. But moving forward, now I'm making single frames for all the characters, and we're gonna put it in the game and we're gonna start playing them out before I go and finish complete animations. I'm probably going to have to go back and redo a lot of the animations for Zack because the game feel of the fight may not work as well. But I always wanted Zack's animations to be the best because he's the animator. So I think I'm gonna go across all the characters, finish all the characters, and then go back and redo Zack from scratch. So his animations will be the best. But I did start Stray. I have a lot of like single frames for Stray. We're doing this in Unity. A friend of mine set up this Unity build for me so I can start testing the animations out, see how they feel. And currently I'm working with a different programmer who set up a UI for the game, and now we're moving into combat territory finally. And I'm so excited to have you guys into this like Zack in Time world because I've been living in this world for 10 years. So many stories, so many interactions between these characters that's in my head. Like when I'm drawing, animating stuff, I never have a question of like what they would do. I know it's like these people I already know, and I can't wait for you guys to meet them. So this is the first game devlog for Zack and Fight. It took a while to make it because the 2D animation does take a lot of time, but I'm maintaining a lot of motivation because I see how much I'm growing as an animator. It's actually also helping my 3D animations a lot too, so I'm super happy. It may be going slow, but it's going. Every Thursday I get more to add to it. You can come watch me live if you want to see me do 2D stuff on Thursdays, and if you can always watch me do Crowley stuff on Tuesdays. I hope that this video helped you in a way to understand how you can maintain motivation for your projects and what it looks like when you go back to your old projects and then continue them and not feel so hurt by the failures of it, but just accept what happened and just keep moving forward, keep trying to better yourself. When I look at Zack in Time now, I'm just thinking like what this would have looked like if I never felt so sad about it, if I just like got up and kept going. But it happens, life has ups and downs. It's important to figure out a way that works for you so you can maintain your motivation, you can keep working on it. I'm at 18,000 subscribers now. I really want to go back and see this video in the future, hopefully when Zack in Time is on Netflix or something and we're playing Zack and Fight on Steam, and then I have this video talking about this, and I hope that this system I built for like continuing motivation is not just gonna run out after like 2 years or something, and I'm gonna be able to keep maintaining for as long as it takes. Also, I know a lot of you guys are super excited about the Crowley Unleashed game, which we will have. The next devlog will be about him. I'm gonna do this thing like one Crowley Unleashed 1 second time, one Crowley Unleashed 1 second time. Anyway, pursuing dreams takes time, so I think it's very important to figure out a way that will make sure you will consistently stay with it during that time, because there's no way of making it like happen instantly. It is gonna take time. It's important to figure out how you can not burn out, how you can stay with the project for a long period of time. Let me know if this video helped you in any way to wanting to go back to your old projects Comment below if you have any projects that you wish you could continue on. Let me know what those are. I'm always very interested in figure out what you guys are up to. Also join our Discord channel. We're doing like a lot of cool animation stuff in there. And please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.